You know, it feels like 2026 is the year of disrespecting the Tide. Is that a big mistake? Welcome to Beat Everyone. I'm Ben Flanagan. We're just a few weeks away from kickoff now, but the disrespect is in midseason form. We're going to reveal to you the 10 most important players for Alabama in the 2026 season. This means if these guys play at an elite level, Alabama might just have a chance to compete for a national championship. But first, tell me if you've heard this before. All disrespect will be addressed accordingly later. Speaking of irreverent and uncouth, let's bring in our guest today. He's an AL.com Alabama beat writer. You can read all of his work on AL.com. You'll be seeing a lot of him this fall, I think. It's Nick Kelly. Welcome back, Nick.
Good to be with you, but if I'm expected to use that level of word, like, I don't even know what you just said. Like, I'm not going to match that, Ben. So we got to take it down a notch so I can understand what you're saying.
Yeah, well, you used to class up the joint. I don't know what happened to you. Google AI will know exactly what I'm talking about. We'll be like, hey, Nick, why are you looking you up? Okay, the Associated Press preseason top 25 was released this week. Ohio State is first, followed by Oregon, Georgia, Notre Dame, and Texas. Defending national champion Indiana is sixth. Entering 2026, Alabama is ranked lucky number 13 for the first time in 18 years. Alabama is ranked outside the AP top 10 in the top 25 preseason poll. This marks their lowest ranking preseason since 2008 when they started at a lowly 24. Now, they went on to shock Clemson in the opener and have an undefeated regular season that year. They went on to become the number one team in the country. They played for a spot in the national title game. 6 national titles in the greatest run in college football history would then follow. But something tells me, Nick, while nobody saw that coming in 2008, nobody thinks that type of history is going to repeat itself anytime soon. Certainly not by Kalen DeBoer's Alabama team in 2026. Nick, Indiana was ranked 20th going into the 2025 season. They laid waste to the Big Ten and the rest of college football, including Alabama, as we all know, proving that entering any season, nobody knows anything. We cannot predict the future. But the expectations for Alabama, according to the AP and coaches, are low relative to what we saw for 2 decades prior to Kalen DeBoer's arrival. And we know how the season ended last year. We know Kalen DeBoer and the team are very aware of the preseason predictions, projections, and the narrative around the program. But everybody considers DeBoer one of the best coaches in the country. He's building a program at Alabama his way. 13 isn't terrible. It's competitive. But do you think that the way the season last year ended, the uncertainty at key positions like quarterback and offensive line, do you think all those things are what's sowing all this doubt about Alabama entering the season?
Yeah, it all combines to where I think there's Bama fatigue, where, yeah, they're not the trendy team that is all of a sudden Indiana that can win a national championship. It's Alabama, who has been at the top of the sport for almost 2 decades and had been under Nick Saban and still obviously is in contention for the playoff. It's not like they dropped off once DeBoer got there. It's just not national championships maybe yet. So I think there's some Bama fatigue. So people are more than willing to drop them down a little bit. But also I think 13, somewhere in that range, is probably fair. As much uncertainty as there is with the offensive side of the ball. You don't know who's going to be the quarterback. You don't know what the running back situation is going to look like. Offensive line, biggest question mark on the team. Tight ends, I feel pretty good about. Receivers, I think, are going to be in a decent spot. But there's so much uncertainty at some key positions where national voters who don't necessarily know the nitty gritty of a team, they're going off the more notable players. Like if I'm ranking, say, Texas, well, I'm going off, I know Arch Manning, I know Colin Simmons at edge, I know Cam Coleman at receiver, and then they have some studs at running back. And so like you kind of go off of skill players a lot of times because they're the most notable. So when Alabama doesn't have guys who are proven or established and have question marks there, you don't tend to rank that team as high. So it's not surprising, and we'll see where they end up. But to let you in on a little bit of a secret, Ben, as a former AP voter, nobody knows in the preseason. No, I mean, you're going off what you think is going to happen. And look, last year, Penn State, Clemson, I think they were both in the top 5. Didn't work out so well. So it doesn't mean that Alabama is going to end up in the top 5, or you just don't know. But I don't know. I think it's just like you see it and you move on.
Nobody knows a damn thing, Nick. fans,
even people like us who get paid to talk about it, Ben.
well, fans, media, coaches, players, like nobody knows what's really going to happen. I made that joke earlier about all disrespect will be addressed accordingly. That was obviously the famous line from Alabama players at SEC Media Days talking about Florida State as if Alabama was still that Alabama, right? And they were just going to take care of business. It was going to be a business trip when they went to Tallahassee. And look what happened. Look what happened, right? So say what you want. I mean, I see all these people making these big predictions about the seasons players are going to have, the plays that they're going to make in the first game, the wins that Alabama is going to have, the season schedule prediction game by game. Nobody knows anything right now until we actually watch it. And when it actually happens and when we see it with our own eyes, I hope you call it like you see it. When rankings like this come out, certainly from the AP and the coaches, obviously, and they see Alabama where they are, it's a far cry. And that's silly to say, considering all the success Alabama enjoyed and where they are. 13th is where a lot of programs would really want to be right now in the conversation. Alabama's in the conversation. They're just not in the part of the conversation most people want them to see or expect them to see.
Sure. And that's what this has proven to me more than anything, Ben, is even when Alabama is not perceived as a top dog right now, they're still relevant. The relevancy doesn't fade that quickly. People talk about where they're ranked no matter what. And yeah, I mean, it's up to them to stay at the top of relevancy. And if they can be successful, they will. But even when they're number 13, they probably get more attention at 13 than most teams would be ranked in the teens. And so Alabama's still got its place in college football.
All right, Nick, it's time to name the 10 most important players for 2026 for Alabama. Let's do that now. I said it earlier. For Alabama to compete at the highest level, these players have to be great. Not good, great. There have been other major points of emphasis for DeBoer and Grubb to fix this offseason, and we'll certainly get there. But we have to start with quarterback, I think. And Nick, I think you and I agree here, though you're on the record with who you think it will be and maybe should be by the start of this season. Either way, whoever Alabama picks between Austin Mack and Keelan Russell, it kind of all starts there for them. That's the way this offense is going to go. Alabama offensive coordinator Ryan Grubb said this week that a decision on quarterback is coming. He said, quote, "We're close. We're getting close to game week. So I would say by next week, we'll have to make that call," end quote. Nick, I also heard former Alabama quarterback A.J. McCarron, somebody who was in his own very widely publicized quarterback battle at Alabama. He said on his podcast recently that at this point, they're probably leaning one way. So nobody's getting tampered with. So they're not messing with somebody's mental game. You don't go into the competition this long and have no clue who your starter is going to be. He says he wouldn't want them to be indecisive about quarterback going to Kentucky in week 2 for their first SEC game of the year, which will obviously be on the road. But I think what we're doing here for one of the players who is most important to Alabama's success in 2026, we're saying, quote unquote, the starting quarterback, whoever that is. So, Nick, if you want to throw a guess out there, who might it be and why does the starting quarterback matter so much? It might seem obvious, but you know more than we do.
The answer has been that a quarterback or a good quarterback or a great quarterback can cover for other mistakes. And that's where the quarterback, and I would say Keelan Russell, as to me, is the most likely guy as the season goes on, at least, is so important. A good quarterback, a great quarterback like Keelan, who can move, who can make plays on the move and, out of position and just throws that you almost don't expect a guy to make, can be necessary when your offensive line is still gelling. You have guys getting experience. You can't have a pocket passer sitting back there when your offensive line maybe can't hold blocks long enough in the passing game. And so, yeah, I think that Keelan Russell has a chance to be great. And I think Alabama could be good with Austin Mack, but for Alabama to be great and to really compete for a playoff spot championship, I think Keelan Russell is that guy. And whether that means that he solidifies himself as the starter with another strong scrimmage, or maybe he doesn't start right away and starts later on as the season goes on, that might be what it is. But to me, for this team to reach its potential, Keelan Russell is the quarterback.
Yeah, and again, another thing, like we'll see what we see. And I hear Keelan Russell, he can move, he can run, he's more dynamic than Austin Mack. And I think we've seen little flourishes of that. Certainly if you watch Keelan Russell at the high school level and how dominant of a player he was and the style of play that he used, you can see this is the type of quarterback he can be at the college level. But once he's facing SEC defenses, we'll see, right? Like it's just a totally different thing altogether. but we hear names like Jaden Daniels and other comparisons. So I'm just curious, like, how does he run? Does he run like Jaden Daniels? Does he run like Jalen Milroe? Does he run like insert quarterback here? Is he more of a Jalen Hurts type runner, more, a little more north and south or east and west? So I'm curious just to see the guy play. We haven't seen him play meaningful snaps, right? He's come in as the third string quarterback in garbage time, but he's looked good. Certainly, he's made good throws, but consider the competition that he's playing when he does that. But Nick, as you're well aware, you guys study this stuff like the Zapruder film. Uh, Alabama releases practice footage, scrimmage footage, and you guys are dissecting this stuff, just seeing like who's on the field, what defensive players are on the field at the same time, what offensive linemen do we see out there, which running backs are getting carries, making plays, etc. There was one shot of Keelan Russell that has been widely shared by fans and people at this point, where it's a shot from behind him as he's making a deep ball throw to, I believe, Sedarian Morgan, and it's just out of his hand like a cannon on the money, and it's one rep, right? But I think like a lot of people see that and they're like, that's it. That's the guy. Keelan Russell's the quarterback. I mean, do we see what we can see? Like we judge by only like what is given to us by Alabama with this practice footage, but do you look at footage like that and make any determination, or how, are you reading between the lines there? Like, is that clip shared on purpose by Alabama? Are they indicating anything, tipping their hand? Because we didn't see a highlight like that people are sharing of Austin Mack. I know it's just one play, but I don't know. Like it seems like he looks the part, doesn't it?
Yeah, I didn't bring my tinfoil hat with me, but I do agree that you see a throw like that and you get excited. I mean, who wouldn't when you see a player make an impressive play? And that's where, to me, Ben, I go more off what I hear from people who are smarter than me when it comes to quarterback play. And to me, Keelan Russell, just from everything I hear, he just has God-given ability that Austin Mack and most quarterbacks don't have. And so that's why you see Keelan make plays like that. You see him make throws that make you kind of drop your jaw, or you see him make plays that, whether it's on the run and him make a throw that you're like, wow, you're like, holy cow. But the thing for him is making sure that he can also make the mundane and routine plays and not make mistakes. That is the biggest key, so that Kalen DeBoer, Ryan Grubb trust him to run the offense, because Austin Mack, the biggest thing he has going for him is that he's been in the system so long and he knows it. And I think that trust is there. But I say all that, in the first scrimmage, Ben, Austin Mack made some mistakes. He did not start well at all. And so if he is making those mistakes, he basically loses a lot of his advantage and a lot of what he might have over a younger guy in Keelan Russell, because if both are making mistakes, then go with Keelan. I mean, Keelan has potential that few quarterbacks have. Like, as one scrimmage observer told me, Ben, Austin Mack is good. Keelan Russell is great. And that to me is the difference maker. And whether it means that Keelan starts game one, he's the first quarterback out there, we'll see. But that's why over time, it's just, I think it's going to be hard to keep him off the field, because everyone you talk to in that building, around the program, people who know football better than I do, just talks about how special Keelan Russell can be. And if Austin Mack is making mistakes as well, then I think you have to go with Keelan.
Do you think we see both guys take meaningful snaps early this season, as soon as the first game? Do you think Austin Mack plays meaningful snaps? Do you think Keelan plays meaningful snaps?
Yeah, I've wondered that. I think Alabama doesn't want to be in that spot. So I think they'd like to avoid that if possible. And they never really have done that, where you look at Fresno State or Washington, where they name a starter and they pretty much ride with them at that point. And so I think that just from a continuity perspective and building the offense around that quarterback, I think more likely than not, they name a starter in the next week or so and they try to ride with him. Now, the tricky thing is, let's just say there's a world where they name Keelan Russell the starter. I mean, a very plausible world. If they name Keelan Russell the starter, it's kind of hard to go back to Mack at that point and say Keelan struggles, because when you essentially pick the younger guy over the older guy, it's kind of hard to flip flop that. Now, of course, Austin would want to go in if they said, "Hey, Austin, here's the ball," but it may be easier to start with Austin Mack and say it doesn't work, you go to Keelan Russell, than the reverse of that. But there's also the scenario where, hey, maybe you both play decent snaps in the first game against East Carolina, you kind of have that warm-up game, if you will, and then you solidify who the starter is by Kentucky. So that's not impossible. I still think, though, Ryan Grubb, Kalen DeBoer's track record is they want to name a starter soon and ride with that guy and build the offense around him.
Let's go to offensive line, Nick. The biggest question mark of the offseason, obviously, it was a major struggle in 2025. Everybody knows that. They couldn't protect one of the best quarterbacks in the country. He gets banged up, and Alabama's season is inconsistent, primarily because of that unit. Could not establish a run game, and we'll get to that in a bit, too. They fired the position coach. They made a new hire. I want to quickly mention a video that made the rounds this week. Former All-American offensive lineman, now a CBS sports analyst, Aaron Taylor, filmed himself outside the Malmore building in Tuscaloosa. He had been to an Alabama practice. He had high praise for Alabama's unit. He said, quote, "Alabama will be able to run the football this year, full stop. That's the headline," end quote. He said the improvements year over year are night and day. Taylor is also the chairman of the Joe Moore Award voting committee, so this is his area of expertise. Nick, so for the most important players of the season, you have Jackson Lloyd and whoever's playing right tackle on this list. What did you think of Taylor's comments and why those two positions specifically?
I mean, you have to be encouraged by it. I mean, he knows offensive line better than you and I do.
Mm-hmm.
And for him to go there and want to see it up close and then have that takeaway, I mean, you have to be encouraged by it. Now, am I ready to say this O-line's winning the Joe Moore Award? Maybe not. I think they've made progress, but I still think from what people said watching the scrimmage, like they still have a ways to go. And that's not shocking considering, I mean, look at how little experience they all have in this group, and plus how little experience they have together. But I listed tackle as the two of the most important players. One, because I feel decent about the interior. I mean, they really like Rayson Delgado at center, who is actually bigger than Parker Brailsford by about 15 pounds and an inch of height. So I'm not overly concerned about Rayson Delgado. And I also think that interior-wise, Michael Carroll could be a heck of a guard. And Mel Waldrop has been maybe the surprise at camp. A lot of praise for his toughness and what he can bring. So to me, it all comes down to tackle. Now, folks in that program, people on the outside are really high on Jackson Lloyd. I mean, he's an athlete. He's got impressive measurables. I think he could be a really good left tackle. Now, what that essentially growing pain experience could look like as he faces SEC defenders on the edge, the best the SEC has to offer, we'll see. But it's super important that he is good for them on that offensive line, is an anchor for them on the left side, no matter who's playing quarterback. And then right tackle, I don't feel as good about that spot. It seems that Javen James has been fending off Nick Brooks, but Javen James wasn't necessarily all that impressive at Mississippi State when he was there, and doesn't mean they can't coach him up and get him better. I do believe in Adrian Clem. I think he's a good coach, but I'm just not certain there. And so whoever's playing right tackle, which looks to be Javen James, is in a good spot to be that guy, has to be important, because let's just say Jackson Lloyd is doing phenomenal. Well, if Javen James is struggling, if you're a defensive coordinator, you try to bring guys off the other edge. And then at that point, it somewhat nullifies what they can protect on the left side. So all five have to work together, and you need all five to be decent, because you're only as good as essentially the weakest link on that O-line. So that's why I list both tackle spots.
Nick, our next player is Ryan Coleman Williams. He needs a huge bounce back season, and everybody seems to expect that based on the offseason that he's had. Grubb sang his praises this week. We're seeing some footage of some acrobatic catches at practice. Maybe he has his mojo back. Who knows? They've got some talented players at wide receiver: Latsier Brooks, Rico Scott, Sedarian Morgan, Derek Meadows, Noah Rogers if he's healthy. But how important is Ryan Coleman Williams to the offense this year?
Ben, I'm going to take my glasses off to make this point clear.
Whoa.
If Ryan Coleman Williams is not a star for Alabama this season, that would be the most shocking outcome to me. Like, he has had such a good offseason and is in such a good spot. Like, of course, guys, in programs tend to hype players up, like, oh, he's having a great year or a great offseason, things like that. But Ryan Coleman Williams is, I think, in such a good spot physically, mentally, that I will be stunned if he is not having a great year and if he's not back at the top of the SEC. One point was a struggle for him, obviously, were his drops. I asked people at the scrimmage, all the people I talked to, hey, did you notice Ryan Coleman-Williams dropping anything? And no one could remember him dropping anything. And then you see the big plays, the highlight reels. Like, this guy is a leader. He's obviously a skilled player, and I think that he has worked super hard to get his game back on track. And he's a little more under the radar now, and I think that's a really nice spot to be, and can be a dangerous spot when people are overlooking you, especially for a guy as talented as Ryan. So he is going to be a conduit for this offense. He can be a true weapon for whoever is at quarterback. I cannot stress enough how big of a year I think is loading for him in this offense.
Okay, put your glasses back on. Don't hurt yourself. Remember, you need the conch to speak on this podcast, Nick. You did like the opposite of Tony Kornheiser there. He usually goes to the glasses when he wants to make a point, or at least wants to read from his notes. But I get it. The stakes are high there. You wouldn't take your glasses off. Honestly, I'm eager to see what the rest of the wide receivers can do. I want to see Brooks come into his own. I want to see Rico Scott get more touches than he has so far since he's been at Alabama, because all we hear about is his speed. But Morgan and Rogers, I mean, these are guys we keep hearing about. I'm ready to see what these guys can do.
Derek Meadows, too. Don't forget about him.
Absolutely. If the offensive line gets fixed, then will the run game follow? Big question. We know about the depth, although that's being tested before the season even starts, with A.K. Deere getting banged up. They've got a blue-chip freshman with E.J. Crowell. Kevin Riley is back. Other guys are making pushes at practice. But presumably, Nick, and tell me if we're wrong here, Daniel Hill is going to get the early and maybe the majority of the carries here. Is that the case? Will this be running back by committee? What does it look like for Daniel Hill as the guy?
Yeah, I don't think it is like, hey, one back, like Daniel Hill's going to take the lion's share, or he's going to be the number one guy all the time. I do think when you look at the end of games, he'll probably have the most carries. I mean, he's the strongest. He's the most, just, I think, SEC body ready, if you will, for that position. So I think you'll see him lead in carries, but I don't think it's going to be like, hey, he's got 30 carries and everyone else has 10 or fewer. I think that you're going to see a mix of guys. And if they can get E.J. Crowell, let's just say 10, maybe 15 carries a game, I think that's that sweet spot as he adjusts to SEC play and being at this level. Like, I'm not concerned about him handling the physicality. It's just more the toll that it takes on your body when he's supposed to be a senior in high school this year. So I think that's that sweet spot where you can use him and then keep him ready, so that, because he is a home run hitter. Like, he's the type that can take it the distance and really just gash a defense. So I think that's that healthy spot. A.K. Deere, a huge bummer that he got banged up. And hopefully he can come back and still help this team in the not too distant future. But also watch out for a Trayshawn Brown type. I think he's been a pleasant surprise. And as a 3-star running back, he's gotten a lot of opportunities that maybe folks didn't expect him to get. And I think he surprised the staff a lot in what he's been able to do early on. I'm not saying he's going to be some elite running back, but I think he'll be able to help the offense. And so nice kind of change of pace from a Daniel Hill types. And so I like the pieces they have. I'm not saying that, man, they've got the good old days of Mark Ingram, Trent Richardson, Derrick Henry, or anything like that. But I think it's going to be more of a threat than it has been, and we'll kind of see where it falls exactly.
You don't want to give the people hope by dropping names like that. Let's switch to the defensive side of the ball. Linebacker has been a little bit more of a mysterious position group, I think. We know Alabama has one of the most talented outside linebackers in the country in Yanze Pierre, and he's going to have to be a dominant pass rusher. But inside linebacker is another story. They lost some guys there, so there are some new faces, including one of your other picks, Caleb Woodson. So why is it so critical that these guys perform in this group this year?
Yeah, Caleb Woodson, the Virginia Tech transfer, I think he's going to be the guy kind of running, quarterbacking the defense, got that green dot on the helmet. So he's really important because Deontay Lawson, Justin Jefferson were with the program for several years and were key presences when they were healthy and able to be there. And so, yeah, Caleb Woodson is that next tone setter at linebacker. And so, yeah, he's important in that he's going to set the tone for the defense and for the linebackers. And certainly a guy that I'm eager to watch play because I've heard a lot of good things about him. So he's high on that list. And next to him is kind of the intrigue point. Like, who else sees time there? Luke Matz, I think, is having a really good camp. But also keep an eye on a Xavier Griffin type. I'm not saying he's going to play inside linebacker necessarily, but he's a nice chess piece. He's a true freshman. But Kane Womack said he's going to play on defense. And you can kind of use him off the edge if you want. You can move him around the formation. So certainly an intriguing name to watch there as well.
A name we've heard a lot about this offseason is Devin Tompkins, the defensive lineman from USC. We've heard he'll be a household name with Alabama fans early this year. Tim Keenan is gone. LT Overton is gone. James Smith is obviously gone. Alabama needs guys to plug the middle, win matchups in the trenches, and early reviews on And early reviews on Tompkins have him pretty solid so far, right?
No doubt. I think he might be their best transfer they added this offseason. Like he's got that kind of potential. And I mean, the staff loves him. You've heard him talk about it publicly, behind the scenes. Like they are really high on this guy and what he can bring. Because the best thing that he can do, Ben, you can move him around. So you can move him, whether it's the three technique, so you're moving him more inside the offensive line, if you will, or you can bring him off the edge too, because he's that bandit defensive end. So he's a guy you keep on the field, and you can move him around, use him different ways, and just have a guy who's a difference maker. And I think that this Alabama defensive line, I mean, we have to see it in game action, but I think will be more of a Alabama defensive line, if you will, than they've maybe had in the past couple of years. I know, I mean, Kane Womack was talking about how he feels he can run more base defense that he wasn't able to at times. He had to get pretty creative. So I think they have more guys who can win one-on-one, but of course we'll have to see that on game day.
Okay, last couple of guys here. We moved to the secondary. One guy was one of Alabama's best players last year in Bray Hubbard, all SEC safety, could be an All-American this year. The expectations will certainly be high. He started slow like the rest of the team did against Florida State, but then played pretty lights out the rest of the way. And with Xavier Brown certainly looking like a proven commodity, making so many huge plays in his first couple of seasons, you're looking on the other side, Nick, with Dijon Lee Jr. Why do you single out these two?
I think Dijon Lee is a guy that could be one of their best players on the entire team. I mean, he's got that kind of potential. And he obviously saw some good opportunities as a freshman, but that sophomore year, full year of college football, like you're in a better spot than you are coming in as kind of those wide eyes. And he did still pretty well for a true freshman. So I think he's going to be a really tough out when you're a receiver going against him in the secondary.
Well, that's it. Now you know the 10 most important players for Alabama entering this season. Who did we leave out? Tell us in the comments. You got to read his stuff and all of our stuff, all of our Alabama football coverage on AL.com. Among other things, he's an AL.com Alabama beat writer. Nick Kelly. Thanks a lot, Nick.